Well, joining me to talk more on this is Executive Director, Nurses and Air, Ayodeji Ulabi. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on KBC Breakfast.
Thank you.
Now, it's said that to understand diabetes is to understand how our body processes food. So how does our body process food such that, excuse me, it leads to diabetes?
All right. When you take anything that has glucose, like your rice, your bread, and any other carbohydrates producing food, the body converts it to glucose, and it's needed by the cells to be used. Meanwhile, your body needs insulin, which is secreted by your pancreas, for the glucose to go from your blood into your body cells. So if your body is not producing enough insulin, or your body is producing enough, there is something obstructing your body from using the insulin that is being produced, or your body is not producing enough at all. That's what happens in diabetes, because it's just like, I want to get into this building, but the gatekeeper is shutting the door and saying, I'm not coming in.
Right.
So, and you need glucose to do a lot of things in your body. You can't function because you need that as the source of energy. So if you don't have enough insulin to take the glucose that is in your bloodstream into your body cells, then it causes a lot of accumulation of glucose in your blood. That's why they have more glucose in the blood that is being diagnosed as diabetes.
Now, there are different types of diabetes. There's a type 1 and a type 2. Talk to us about the difference and what makes the other
Type 1 is the less prevalent one. That's about 10% of people with diabetes have type 1 diabetes. This happens when there is autoimmune fighting your own pancreas. It's just like you fighting yourself. Something that is supposed to work to protect you, now working against you, damaging what is producing insulin in your pancreas. So when this is damaged, then it's going to be sure that there is not going to be insulin to convert the glucose in your blood to what is going to be useful by your cells. While in type 2, there may not be enough production. And this happens when there is something obstructing your, the insulin that is supposed to work. It may be fat, it may be anything that is obstructing it. So your body is going to be responding by saying there is not enough insulin, making the pancreas to work excessively.
But are the symptoms similar for both of them?
A bit similar.
All right. Talk to us about their symptoms.
Okay. The only thing is majorly going to be known at the onset of when it happens and the test that is going to be carried out. But talking about the symptoms, they are very, very similar. You will eat and you still be hungry. You will drink water and you still be thirsty, because the food that you're eating is not being utilized by your body cells. And your body cells is sending signal to your brain that I'm still hungry. Meanwhile, when it's coming in, it's accumulating in your blood. Then when it's accumulating in your blood, glucose have an affinity for more water. So it draws more fluid to itself, making you to urinate excessively. And the accumulation of glucose in your blood also passes out in your kidney. Normally, the kidney is supposed to filter it, but when it is more than what the kidney can filter, it comes out in your urine. So making you to have this sugar, which is glucose, in your urine. Then you may be having weight loss because you're not having the necessary energy you need. You're eating, yet you're still becoming thin.
Now that we have talked about how our lifestyle or the food that we eat, the processing of the food, and obviously it is the food we eat that also leads to this, because there are reports that by 2045, the numbers could triple.
Okay.
Now, what is the kind of lifestyle that we should adopt, as well as feeding, to address this?
Now, let me start with this. In African region, the 19 million, more than half of those 19 million that is being tagged with African region don't know that they have diabetes.
Oh, a lot of people are not aware.
A lot of people are not aware that they know that they have diabetes. And this make it worse, because you may have it and you don't know. Prompt treatment that ought to be taken for you to be okay is not going to be taken. So looking at the lifestyle modification that needs to be done to stay healthy, this will also prevent and also can be used to manage. If you know that there may be somebody in your family that have been diabetic before, or you know that you have tendency of having diabetes, looking at your genetic predisposition or your family history, your body weight, your body mass, and everything, then you need to cut down your fat intake. You need to reduce your alcohol consumption. That's if you don't want to stop it completely. Avoid smoking and regular exercise. This is very, very important, at least 30 minutes in a day.
Now, for those, some will say that if in this region, our staples are carbohydrates. Now, in what measure should we be looking at intake, or is it to avoid it totally?
Now, when you talk about carbohydrates, the quantity of carbohydrates we take is what should be needed by your body. Now, let's say I take all these soda drinks, all these beverages, without looking at the sugar quantity. Maximally in a day, I shouldn't take more than, let's say, 12 level teaspoons of sugar. Meanwhile, in this soda drink that we are taking each day, we have more than 10 in it. And you're still going to eat your rice, you still come home and eat your eba, you still come home and eat your amala. Yet, you're still taking a lot of glucose. And if you're taking this and you're using it maximally, let's say for somebody like us that work in the studio, we are not going beyond our desk. It's that same desk that will get drink, that same desk you will eat. We are being confined to a place. We are not maximizing the glucose that we are consuming. So it makes the glucose to build up more, making you prone to this. And when your glucose is building up more, it makes your pancreas to secrete more, because how God has made it is that when there is lack in anything, your body will respond by producing more to balance it up.
Now let's look at the financial implications and also access to treatment. When you look at that report, the lady was talking about how much she spends. How much of this, how challenging is it, especially for a lot of persons? You are in the field. How is it challenging for patients to come receive treatment? Well,
I want to say thanks to some foundations that are coming up to the aid of some people, because this region with the poverty rate, it's affecting a lot of people, especially getting the medication needed. Some with type 2 diabetes, they can still survive with taking some tablets. Meanwhile, some have to be on injection, which is insulin injectables. So the cost of getting those medication each day is worrisome to a lot of people. And these make a lot of people go back from treating the diabetes. Meanwhile, if you can balance up your preventive measures now, it will help you prevent the spending in future. And also help you prevent some of the complications that may arise. Let's look at during the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of the people that died from, let's say 50% according to WHO, of people that died from COVID-19 have diabetes. Across the globe, 1.6 million people die per year, which is worrisome. And if we can do as much as possible, let's say we get some support with educating more people to have more knowledge about diabetes, which I want to say thanks to TVC for bringing this up to people that are going to hear about this, so that if you can prevent this from onset, it will help you to prevent what you're going to spend.
It is often said that prevention is better than cure.
And now, cheaper as well.
Yeah. Now, if you take all of this medication and have the lifestyle changes, can that reverse either type 1 or type 2? Is it reversible?
Well, medically, I wouldn't say it's reversible, because once it has happened, that's why we call it a chronic disease. You have to manage it for a lifetime. And that's what brings a lot of issues with a lot of people, because taking the injection every day, some people take it twice a day, some people 3 times a day, injecting yourself every day for 3 months, 6 months, 6 years, 10 years, for the rest of your life.
It can be tiring.
So it's better to prevent it now and prevent the complication than going through the stress. Meanwhile, emotional support for people that are going through this is also very, very important.
Absolutely.
Support from their family, support from their caregiver, support from the government as well.
Now, let's look at this year's celebration of the day. The focus is on nurses and how they have come a long way, especially in caring for people with diabetes. Talk to us from your point of view, the challenges you face in handling all of these issues.
Okay, I've been to an outreach that I saw a client with 410 milligram per DL of glucose level. Meanwhile, it shouldn't be more than 100 to 120.
That's high.
So the challenge with nurses attending to people, especially with people of low income, is massive. And that's why a lot of nurses try to see how they can collaborate with some individuals to educate the people more. And globally, there's a shortage of nurses. Globally, they're looking for over 6.2 million nurses, despite the fact that nurses contain the 50% of all the global workforce. Yet there's still shortage of nurses, apart from the fact that a lot of nurses are leaving Nigeria.
All right. That is another issue entirely. Absolutely.
Apart from that,
yeah.
Well, in year 2020, as declared by World Health Organization as the Year of Nurses and Midwives, I used to tell our nurses that nurses started their work earlier in January, and with the pandemic and lockdown, let's say maybe midwives should be expecting more of their work now in November and December.
All right, we get that, yeah.
And we need to educate people more, and WHO is saying support more nurses, so that if they are well educated, apart from the knowledge they already have, if they have more support, more training, and giving them more kits to create awareness in the public. I want to say kudos to some nurses that are also organizing their own foundation with the little that they have to help people. I have a friend that is doing that in Abuja. I have some that are doing theirs in Lagos, to go to different villages and see how they can create awareness and also test and screen people. Apart from the stress they go through in giving medication to people over time, and they also train people to take care of themselves. And this is what some nurses do. In fact, I have some nurses that they have basically structure of work is strictly for diabetes people. They do this every day with diabetes patients. Then we also try to go across different places to get a story of nurses that are attending to people. What are the challenges they are going through? And most of them are saying, okay, despite the challenges in the community, they are still going to be committed to make health accessible and affordable to these people in the community.
Now, tell us, this, when we talk about diabetes, does it have to do with age? Does it have anything to do with, especially the elderly? Okay.
Now, type 1 diabetes is more in the younger ones. It is more discovered in younger ones. Meanwhile, type 2 diabetes can also be discovered in younger ones and also more prevalent in people that are getting older. Meanwhile, you can't control your age.
Absolutely.
you can't control some predisposing factors. Meanwhile, you can control the factors that you have control over, which is your weight management, your food intake. If you take more of fiber diet, if you take more of fruits and vegetables instead of the pet drink and soda drinks out there, and with this, it helps you to stay healthy and keep fit.
We'll leave the conversation here now. Thank you so much, Executive Director, Nurses on Air, Ayodiji Wulabi, for speaking with us. We do appreciate it and hope that a lot of persons will take precaution, which is said to be better than cure and cheaper. Like
and cheaper.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.